I'm Damon, aka Nomad spelled backwards. Y'all, I've been doing this travel channel forever now, and it just now hit me that my name spelled backwards is Nomad. My parents cursed me before I even choose this life for myself. Okay, so here's the deal. I've been a nomad since June 2018 when I left Los Angeles, where I had been living for 3 years. I spent 5 years in New York, spent 18 years in Indiana. I'd been living in Los Angeles when finally I'm like, you know what? Why? Like, I want to be living around the world. I don't want an apartment. I don't care about utilities and like, if my landlord says it's okay to sublet. I was so over it that I'm like, you know what? You're going into Pico and Crenshaw public storage for a few months and I'm gonna go take off with my backpack. That's what this channel's all about, right? Shut up and go. None of y'all define me. Alright, so in this video I'm going to explain how I set this up as my lifestyle, what phone plan I'm on, where my mail goes, how I managed to get a prescription in the United Kingdom with no health insurance. All that kind of stuff we're gonna go over in this video. Let's go. Well, the first thing to note is that I live out of a suitcase. One suitcase. Okay, that's kind of a lie. I live out of one suitcase from TJ and Maxx, but I also have a carry-on. This is from TK Maxx in London, which is their TJ Maxx. Then you have your personal bag, which is like your purse. Then if you want to get really sneaky, you stash a canvas bag inside your carry-on pieces, and then once you pass security, you open it up and stash stuff in here too. I keep all my necessary valuables in my carry-on. I keep it on me at all times, like passports, visas, birth certificates. So every piece of paper that the government needs of us as humans here on Earth, I have it all digital just in case something goes wrong. Not saying it'll still work, but at least I have a copy of it. Back to that thing about visas. So I'm currently back and forth between Europe and the States because I'm on a talent visa, and I managed to get the talent visa thanks to all of you on this channel. I got the talent visa because I pitched the government basically saying I want to come to Paris to make videos about Paris because my Paris videos do so well. I had to prove that I had enough money to be here and that I wasn't gonna take a job from a French person, and I'm not. I don't think. This is an Airbnb, this is not mine. I tend to go from Airbnb to Airbnb. In fact, I've been living in Airbnbs since June 2018. And yet, does someone want to tell me why Airbnb still hasn't reached out to want to work with me? The good thing about living in Airbnbs is that after you've lived in the States and become accustomed to those rent prices, living in Airbnbs around the world, it's reasonable prices. And then you can up and go without the lease. So when I run on Airbnb, I do it by the week or by the month, because you get discounts. You know, and a lot of times the week price ends up being cheaper than like just a few days. So think about that too. Like maybe you should just book for a week, even if you're gonna be there for 3 days, 4 days, because you end up getting the week discount, ends up being cheaper than the 3-4 days. Now the downside to this is that when you do have to perform any governmental function like opening a bank account, proving your residency, it's impossible because your name is not on any lease and you're not getting any gas bills or electricity bills, so you don't have anything to prove that you live where you live. Yes, and of course you can sublet your apartment if you have a landlord that's okay with that. But then also when you're backpacking across freaking Thailand, the last thing you want to think about is how your washing machine broke down back in Los Angeles. Like you will feel so detached from everything, let alone a freaking washing machine in Los Angeles County. Like you will not, frankly, you will not give a shit. You'll be like, figure it out. Also, might I add that when I put my stuff in storage, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave for maybe 6 months, see how I like it, and then maybe I'll come back. That is a smart decision. Now it's unfortunate because I have all these kind of cheap furniture items in my storage space. I just need to get into this one. Now that I've seen my couch that I thought I needed to keep, all my bed sheets, all my like little knickknacks here and there, I'm like, I literally have been paying monthly for a place, and this cost monthly has probably already exceeded the cost of just buying new things. I could have just given them all away, donated them, but instead here I am hoarding in an indirect way. So that's kind of silly. Like I should have got rid of my storage space earlier because now I'm just paying to house things that I don't even want. Okay, as I get more into this video, I realize there's so much information here, and so instead of me telling you every little resource, I'm just gonna tell you what I do. If you want every single resource, check the description box below. Where does your mail go? Okay, where does my mail go? My mail goes to my USPS box in Los Angeles that I set up a few months ago. Now, this is different from a PO box, which is at the post office. This is through UPS, USPS. This should show you that you don't have to be an expert in all this to make it happen, right? Like mine is, I think it's called USPS. I know the address, I know where it's at. What is it called? I don't know. A lot of times with PO boxes at post offices, they get flagged as a commercial address and you're like not allowed to live at a business commercial address, so they won't accept. With this one that I have, USPS, it's totally worked. Like I changed my driver's license information, my voter registration. If I ever need a document sent to me, I just get it sent there. And what I like about this service is that if I really need something to be opened, I give this company permission and they can open it, digitalize it, scan it to me, and then I have it. But I've never had to do that. One like technical advancement that I'm really loving these days is Amazon Locker, because you no longer need an address. You don't have to like bother your Airbnb. Here's one of the reasons I decided to leave my apartment back in Los Angeles. I had a subletter because I was traveling, you know, like I was trying it out that way. I had a subletter and he needed to get something sent to him, so he sent it to my place without my permission. The landlord found out because there was a building manager. I get this like dramatic email, like, you know the rules, you're not supposed to sublet. This guy's been living here for three months now. And I'm like, and he's been paying rent and everything's fine. What's the big deal? I think that was probably one of the points that pushed me over the edge to be like, well then I'm leaving. It's just something I don't understand. It's like, if someone's paying the rent and the place is fine, like then what's the big deal? What is the big deal? I guess the big deal was that when I did go home to my subletter, the boy left a freaking woman's bra underneath the couch and didn't even clean it. And so I had to pick up this woman's bra. But y'all, this whole thing could have been solved if Amazon Locker had been around. Y'all, here in Paris, they have an Amazon Locker in the Louvre. And I specifically traversed Paris just to go to the Louvre to pick up my item. Having a mailing address is very important for next year because it's 2020 and it's the election. And y'all know I'm getting my absentee ballot. Last election, I voted absentee, meaning like you're not living in the States, you're traveling, you can't go to a poll booth, you send in your ballot before. Last election, Joe and I were literally on a boat in freaking Thailand. And it was the craziest thing because we were on this boat and it was like the United Nations. It was Joe and me, it was someone from Russia, South Africa, people from Bolivia, like all over. And we were on this boat and we were all watching the numbers like tick. And when he won, it was so insane and I felt so detached from my own country because there Joe and I were traveling like with people from all around the world, like expanding our knowledge, learning about what works in other places and what doesn't. And I just felt like that dude who won and like the people who voted for him, we were like two completely different people. You know, maybe this lifestyle is for you. You feel tied down by the system and you feel like your life is just so predictable and frankly boring. After you have your apartment for like maybe a year or two, you start realizing like, wow, this is a lot of crap around me, huh? Like, what does this crap even say? And then we get confused on why we're even here in the first place. And why we're here in the first place is to have freaking awesome life experiences, meet really interesting people, and a lot of times we can't do these two things because we have car payments and we have gas bills. We have to pay off the loan for our new sofa. And so these things are actually just getting in our way of living the life we wanted to live originally. The people who have the most to say about your lifestyle, it's not even about you, it's about them. It's about how they feel uncomfortable that you may be fulfilling a dream that they once had that they no longer can do, and so they have to project their like negativity and weird like hazy energy on you so that when you don't do it, they're like, oh, I feel better now because now they're not living out the dream that I wanted to live for myself. But we're not living our lives like that. That's not what this channel's about. Nope. And a lot of times when I'm going through all this hassle of living a nomadic lifestyle, because it is so much more of a hassle, sometimes I have thoughts like, why am I putting myself through this? I don't have to be doing this. But then I realize as I'm drinking a little cup of coffee, that construction does not need to start right now. Everything that is happening around me has been made up. It's been invented, but we are just people, humans, on a freaking earth. Everything else has been invented. Borders, and post boxes, and taxes, and like, it's all just made up, and I feel like my like psyche, it's like gone beyond that. Or like now that my generation was the first one to grow up with the internet, we can like think for ourselves finally, instead of having to go through all these other people and systems to do things. Now we live in a world that's modern and we don't need to do it, so let's freaking change the world. The world can't keep up. These systems are so outdated. Me talking about it is just one way I can help change it, but it's just so frustrating to live in a world that like almost like wants to tie you down. For so long I wasn't doing this and I thought I was missing out on something, and now that I've really learned about it, I'm like, actually Damon, you were only taking a few flights a year, like it really didn't affect you much. You wouldn't have helped you that much. If you do start taking more flights, you gotta look into the 3 airline alliances. You have oneworld, you have Star Alliance, and you have SkyTeam. You gotta look at the flights you take most often and see which airlines go through your airport or which airlines you may be taking, because only, some airlines take certain routes. For the most part, I've been in oneworld, which houses like American Airlines, British Airways, Cathay Pacific. I have one number for oneworld, one number for SkyTeam, and one number for Star Alliance. And then I have another number, which is my global entry. Global entry is only for North America. It's basically a system where you go to a background check, you literally show up, they take a really bad webcam picture, they ask you maybe 2 questions, and then you get this card. And you can use this card to bypass all the immigration systems when you come back into the United States, so you don't have to be asked all those very intrusive, unnecessary questions. This is where it gets tricky and unnecessarily complicated. We're just gonna take One World Alliance because that's the one I take the most. I have an American Airlines number. Now, if I take British Airways, which is in the same alliance as American, I still have to use my American Airlines number on the British Airways flight so that it's tracked neatly. Y'all, I used to have a number for every single airline, and I was like, ha ha ha, joke's on y'all. Jokes were always on me because it was so complicated and so hard to navigate that. I have one number, American Airlines, I have a Delta, and I have a United. And then I only use that number within the alliance. Y'all, it is the easiest thing to just put the number in. It's 6 digits, you copy, you paste it, you're done. And say you can't live a nomadic life right now and you're working for a company and they're flying you places, or you have to go on a work trip, put the number in, because you'll get the points even though the company paid for it. So a lot of times when Joe and I are contracted to be hosts of things, the companies pay for our flight, and I slip that number in, and then I get points. Y'all, I have taken so many flights that I haven't even had to pay for because I already paid for them and put my frequent flyer number in, acquired the points, and then used my points to pay for the flights. Israel, round trip. Brazil, free. That wiped me out clean though. I had to come back from that one. France, Miami. Here in Paris, all my French friends are so confused how I get points for my credit card. I use the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and I've been using this for 4 years. I literally pay for everything with my credit card. Everything. Cash is obsolete, it gets me no points. I can pay for something in cash, and I only get the value of that item. Or I can pay for this thing with my credit card, not only get the value of the item, but then I am accumulating points to then spend on free things. It's again, free money. Credit card points are easy to understand, right? Because you just swipe, 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 and then your points are being accumulated in the background. Then when you log into your bank account, you'll be like, shit, that's how much money I spent. Within your bank dashboard, you'll see redeem points for travel. You'll see the same flight if you go through your bank dashboard travel search engine, or if you go even through our website, you'll see you'll see the same flights and they'll be the same amount. It's just you'll now have points to pay for it. One thing that starts to get annoying after you've been doing this for months and months and months and years and years and years is that when you have an American card abroad, you always have to sign. But I found that if you use Apple Pay, you bypass the signature and they don't ask. Chase has always been super nice. I've never had one complaint with them actually. Wow, thank you. That's the one business who has always done it for me. Because they have all my money. Phone plans. Okay, so number 1, you have to have an unlocked phone. Enough said. Get an unlocked phone, or else don't do it. Because you need an unlocked phone to then use the different SIM cards all around the world. So you have that SIM card in there, right? This one is through the UK. My plan was so good in the UK that I've now kept it for over a year, and I'm reaching my data roaming limit, so I have to find a new plan because they're gonna kick me off. It was a pay-as-you-go monthly top up, so I was never worrying about oh my god, I'm gonna have a huge phone bill, because I only put $25 on it every month. I would get 20 gigabytes of internet, unlimited talk and text, and it would work in almost every country I'd go to. See why I've had it for so long? Something that was kind of funny though was that every time I'd want to top up, I wasn't able to do it through the website because I didn't have a British bank account, so they wouldn't let me. So I had to go through a third-party, really sketchy website. This is the sketchy website. You use your PayPal to pay for it, and then I pay via PayPal. Then you have to call England. I dial 444, type in the voucher code. They give you this sketchy code, and then your phone is topped up. So my plan is actually 12 gigabytes of internet with unlimited talk and text, but it works all over the world. $25.94. Another option is just to roll up to every country, go to one of those internet cafes, and then just plop in a new SIM card. But every time you do that, your number changes, and then people can't get a hold of you, or they have to keep changing your phone number. Again, this is what I'm saying about It's cool to live this life, but it's annoying to like be a burden to other people because that's not why we're doing it, right? Like right now, I'm looking for a Paris apartment and I wanted to open a French bank account. Both of these, I needed to be reachable by a French number, so I got rid of my British number because they wouldn't call it. I went down the street to the internet cafe, said, hey, can I get a prepaid SIM card? Plopped it in. It's all gonna change again next week when I sign up for Google Fi. What? Okay, so Google Fi is this program, phone plan by Google. It's unlimited everything, everywhere, basically, but I think it's only available for Americans. You can use Skype because Skype has a service where you pay monthly and you can get a local phone number. For a while, I had been using a French one, but the thing is, in France, they have different codes, right? It's almost like an area code. 06 and 07 are for cell phones. I was given a 09 number, and then I looked up 09 on the internet, and 09 numbers are like internet numbers. And 09 numbers don't work when you type them into like government websites because they're flagged as internet numbers and not real numbers. Are you realizing that this nomadic lifestyle is like a lifestyle of workarounds? You have to abide by the rules, even though these rules like aren't even like that necessary. So you have these Skype numbers that you can pay monthly and get a local number, and they work. Like my friends would call that number, it would go through Skype, Skype would open up, and then I'd answer through Skype and it'd be fine. But then you can also use the service that Skype offers where you just put credit on your Skype account, and then if you need to call, say, the United States from France, you just type it, go on Skype, type the number in, and use your credit. And I did that for years also. What's gonna be good is that when I do upgrade to the new iPhone, they have dual SIM cards, which means I can have my new Google Fi. And then in order to make everyone happy here in France, I will just get the cheapest monthly SIM card, so I can keep a French number here, not one of these like internet ones, because no one thinks that they're real. Stick both in there, and then I will be set. Then you have all these other like minor issues, like say your Uber arrives and they're trying to get a hold of you, but they can't get a hold of you because the number you started your account with was an old number. Now it's not being patched through to the right number. Oh, and then this was kind of funny. I was back in LA and I'm like, let me go to the LGBT center and just get routine tested because I don't have insurance. Oh my God, I need to write down insurance. So I went to go get tested, and they needed to call me back to get my results. I'm like, can you just email it? Like, come on, just email it. They're like, no, we have to call somebody. I'm like, okay, well, who am I close to that like I wouldn't mind if something were to go wrong? I wouldn't mind if they knew. So I put down my friend Masako's number. Luckily, all was good. Like, there was nothing to even worry about. But still, like, that's a minor issue too. On the topic of health and doctors, I haven't had insurance for 2 years now, which is scary as an American, because if you break your arm, geez, that's like $15,000. Now, if I'm sick and I'm in the States, I go to a walk-in clinic, a Walgreens walk-in clinic, or I go to like a urgent care. Y'all, I use this website here in France called Doctolib, and it's a website and an app that shows you all the available doctors in your area, what you need to go for, and when their next available appointment is. It's like ZocDoc in the United States, except that you don't need all these like insurance forms. I had these like really weird pigmentation issues on my face, so I saw that there was a dermatologist available in 2 hours, called her up. She's like, cool, that'll be 90 euros. And like, that's expensive here. But that's because while they do have universal healthcare here, I don't have my insurance card in France because I don't have an apartment. And you see, I don't have the French number to be contacted by the realtors to help me get the apartment. I can't get the bank account to prove that I have money to get the apartment because I don't have an apartment or an address on file. So I can't even register for the health insurance system because I don't have an address on file. This is how it works in France. You wanna do this? Okay. They send you in circles and nobody wants to help. And they just delegate their issues to everybody. And then you are back at square one, having walked so many circles, but having accomplished nothing. Ooh, gyms. Dang! It was bigger before when I was going regularly. A lot of gyms offer trimester memberships. When I was here in Paris, I did a trimester membership. Then you have companies like ClassPass, where you pay monthly and you have access to all the gyms in the city. Another one is called Gym Pass. Oh, dating and love. You know this is my favorite topic to talk about. I would make an entire dating with Damon channel if people would watch. Would you watch? Speaking of which, I just met up with a guy last night who's a freaking dancer, a go-go boy in a gay bar, but he was the most homophobic of all. It was so bizarre. We did some very gay things though. A lot of times I use Tinder Passport, which is the upgraded version of Tinder where it's super nice, right? Because if I'm going to London next month and I'm like over everybody here, I put my Tinder in London and I start scheduling. If I'm only in London for a few days or a week even, I don't want to spend my time swiping over there. You swipe in advance. Set up the dates, that way when you're in London, you can enjoy your time. Okay, how do you pay taxes? My company is based in Los Angeles. I spend a lot of my time in the United States. Probably 99% of my money is through US-based companies, so I pay taxes in the United States, in California, where I still don't live, but I still pay California taxes, probably because my USPS box is there. I have an accountant who handles it all, and that is the best expense that I could ever think about because I don't like thinking about that. Do you ever plan on settling down? I would really need like some sort of major life event to happen for me to want to settle down, because right now I'm like having too much fun, and anything else would feel like I'm limiting myself. This mom, oh my God, if we lived in the same city, I think we might be really, really good friends. So she was like this tall, super spunky. Like she had taken her kids to the wall in Palestine, and on the Palestinian side you can draw on it, and people are doing street art and like writing politically controversial things. And she had drawn on it with her kids, like a little activity. And then she was back in the hostel with me, and she was like, oh, you know what, I'm kind of worried now because I looked up and there were all those cameras, like surveillance cameras. And then she goes, you know, I just can't go back to jail again. And I'm like, what? Like you, this like sweet mother of these 2 kids? My girl tells me a story of how she went to jail for a night when she was in Dubai. She was at the airport and she noticed a police officer was like abusing his power and being just like way too aggressive with this tourist. So she took a picture of this police officer yelling. And the police officer notices, so he runs over and yells at her and says, delete that picture right now. And she is like a free-spirited, liberated woman is like, no, like I love this picture. I'm not gonna delete this picture. They get into a heated argument, and then she says like the worst thing you could ever say in the Middle East to a man, you're not a man. And the police officer couldn't take it, so he put her in jail. Basically all this to say that even if I did have kids or found my life partner or whatever, my husband, I don't think that I would ever leave a very settled down life. They would have to be just as adventurous as I am. How to overcome what if it goes wrong? You have to know that no matter what situation you're put in, you arrive in Cambodia and you don't speak the language and like somebody steals your passport, you have to realize that you still have you. Everything else can be reproduced. You can go to the American embassy in Cambodia and get a new passport. It'll be annoying, but like you'll figure it out. So I think this what if it goes wrong mentality, you have to like combat it with this idea of I trust that I will figure it out. Don't you get bored with the same talks with new people? Which countries you've been to? What did you study? How are you living this life? Yes. I love that someone even thought of this question. There was a point sometime this year, I think it was when I was in Brazil, that I was like, shit, I'm meeting the coolest people, yet I have to leave, and I don't want to leave, and I want to keep on meeting cool people, but I also don't want to keep leaving cool people. And that's like the double-edged sword here, because you know if you hadn't left last place, you wouldn't have met these new cool people, but if you don't leave this place, you won't meet the next future cool people. So you're constantly living in this like future thought process instead of living in the present. How do you start such a lifestyle and finance it? XO from a 23-year-old bored with her life. Yo, when I was 23, I literally wrote a post on shutupandgo.travel called, when I turned 23, I felt bored with my life. So here's what I did. Quit all the jobs that weren't getting me anywhere. You're never gonna get rich doing basic jobs. You gotta do the jobs that can get you somewhere to be in a position where then you can get rich. Those jobs are catering and jobs where you're in control of your own schedule. Catering, dog walking, do Uber. I was a grocery man on Instacart when it first started. The biggest key here is you have to have control of your own schedule, because then you can work as much as you want instead of your boss telling you when you can work. Yo, I didn't even have more than $2,000 to my name until like a few years ago. So all those trips that you saw of like Eurail, the entire Eurail series, Joe and I had no money. Me working at a hostel in Lisbon, no money. Us going to Thailand, no money. Yo, we had no money and we had the best times. Like even if I were to compare a trip now that I have money compared to when I didn't have money and you put them side to side, it's not like one is more fun than the other. The jokes and stuff, like that's what makes a trip fun. Don't let yourself play yourself. You don't need a lot of money to go have fun around the world. You really don't. Choose a cheap country, find a cheap plane ticket, work your ass off, save up the money till the plane ticket, take off, go live out of hostels, work at the hostels for accommodation, teach English. It's possible. Write a comment below and I'll try to get to you in the comments. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for watching. I'm Damon from DamonAndJo, and I'll be in Los Angeles next week with Joe. Bisous. Later. so I can just open this and see what time exactly it is and all the places that are relevant to me. Joe and I maintain the same calendar. I'm yellow, she's purple. Things we have to do together are in green. We've configured our GCal to have France time and Los Angeles time, so you can have different time zones if you go into your settings. The fact that we speak English, we already have such a leg up in this whole process. Everyone speaks English everywhere for the most part. Imagine I was born in Czech Republic and only spoke Czech and I was trying to live this lifestyle. Trying to find somebody who speaks Czech in Brazil, like what? Like that would be difficult. You notice the theme of this video? It's me saying obsolete. These services no longer make sense for the world we live in. Or I guess it makes sense for if you want to live in that world, which I don't.